Alright, I'm filming on how to lower the Geo here, Geo Storm, using WRX suspension or Impreza suspension. Had a lot of questions on how I did it, how to modify it, so I'm just gonna kind of show you guys what I did here. First, you're gonna get the wheels off and jack up the car. Alright, so once you have tire up in the air or car up in the air, wheel off, you're gonna want to crack off um, these bolts holding the knuckle in, which I already cracked off. Get that off next. And then you want to crack off the top of the strut inside the engine bay. These are 14 mils. Down here, both sides are 17 mils. Alright, so next, once you have the strut all unbolted, you're going to probably need some dikes or side cutters to cut out where the brake line mounts. But once you get that, you can just drop it out, set that aside, and next what you'll have to do is I recommend some strut compressors or um, be careful, and you're just going to have to use your impact and or a ratchet and some vice grips here, and you could get this top hat off because we're going to use this top hat to switch over to the Subaru suspension, which I'll show you next. Alright, so this is kind of what we're looking at here. You can see big difference in height adjustment there for the front. I just have some basic kind of Raceland cheap coilovers here. They do the trick, or sorry, these are max speeding rods. The last ones I had were Racelands, but a lot of adjustment options here. This one does have a camber plate, which isn't very useful on this car, so I just would switch it to this. I'm going to show you kind of what I do to switch this over. Alright, so I switched them over. You can see, set it down here. Let me show you. It's kind of what you're looking for. This is what the top hat will look like. Just stock one on there. You'll have to be able to spin it and then tighten it down when you're done. You should be able to get that from the top of the strut tower. Mine does have a little adjuster for dampening, which you're going to want to add access for, which plenty of space up here to do that. Next thing I did was kept this top hole. I was going to keep using this one, and then since this bottom hole is too spaced out, I think it's about ½ inch, maybe about a whole inch too far down, I measured from the center of this hole 2 inches and drilled a hole. I think I went 3/8 or 1 inch drill bit. I just stepped it up, started small and got bigger. And you should have no issues as long as you're patient. Use a lot of lube on the drill. It's going to take a while because this is thick gauge metal. It's going to be a while before you can actually get it all the way through, but it's definitely worth it. I'll show you guys this on the car now. All right, you can already see a substantial drop here in clearance. Little spider down in here. I don't really want to get close to him, but a lot of difference. Obviously, this will spin. You can adjust it. You can see I have a little bit coming out at the bottom here. But this is going to give a lot of adjustment. On the front, the gap in between here is almost exactly the same. So you're not going to worry about any spacing issues here. On the back, I do recommend using a washer on either side just to kind of keep the space even, or else you'll run into adjustment issues once this is fully tight on the knuckle in the back. I'll show you guys that. The front is pretty simple. This is kind of all you have to do. I'll jack this up a bit, get it all seated, and kind of show you what it looks like. All right, you can see with it even still up in the air how low it is compared to the other side. And this is the side with the shorter CV axle, so it's going to be even, more substantial of a droop on this side. And then if we lower the car down, you can see, keep the jack under there because it's very low, but it's very, very low. Take the camera off here, just show you how low. Pretty low, even with a lot more adjustment left. It's pretty straightforward of a swap. Like I said, you're going to probably want some strut compressors if you wanted to put everything back. But you can see it sits way, way lower. Here's the other side, for example. Wheel gaps, definitely there. We're tucked over here, but you can see pretty darn low. Now we're going to start on the rears. With the rears, going to be pulling out, I have this cargo cover, but you're going to be pulling out this little housing here, just a few Phillips head screws, and it's going to open up the seatbelt assembly. It's pretty simple. Just going to take the wheel off and basically drop the strut out. Very similar assembly to the front. I'll show you how that all works. Alright, so once you get the back jacked up and the wheel off, you want to come up here, get your cargo cover out of the way, get this little plastic cover off, just a few Phillips head screws. There's a couple up top here, one here, a couple around the back. And you're going to want to take off the seat belt here. My ratchet sucks, so as we get this off, maybe endless bolts. Set that to the side here. There's going to be a nut here, a nut around here, and then there is a nut that is hiding under here. Kind of hard to see on camera. And I did drill a hole here for my adjustable dampening. Not every coilover is going to have that. I didn't want to get rid of the rear seat belts, so I compromised with the little hole that I drilled here. You may or may not need to do that, up to you. But you're going to need a 14 mil wrench to get the screw or the nut that's hiding under here, and then just a deep 14 socket to get these. I'll get those off now. And then also 2 more 17 mil bolts and nuts here. That just is holding the actual strut assembly to the knuckle down here. You don't need to mess with any of the trailing arms or anything. I'm going to get the strut out and show you the next step. Alright, now once you get this off, again, on right here, where the brake line comes up to the strut and is held, there is this hard line. Just be careful of this hard line. You don't want to bend it, crease it, or anything. But you're also going to need some dikes or side cutters here again, just to free this brake line. I can kind of do this with one hand here. Just have to kick out the bottom of the strut, drop down, be careful, and you just kind of kick it all the way out back, and just like that, we have that rear strut out. This one is a lot taller, as you can see, but just like that, super duper easy. Got that right out. Now I'm going to show you guys how to swap over this top hat to the other strut. Almost just like the front, and then what I did to modify the bottom here. Alright, so I got the other top hat on here. You can see there. And the way I modified this one, very same thing pretty much. I just drilled 2-inch gap. That's what the space is on the knuckle here. You can kind of see here, I just measured that as 2 inches of spacing. The knuckle here is a little bit skinnier than the front, or it's either that skinnier or this is wider. You can see here, this might be a little bit wider. So what I did is I just took some of these fat washers and just spaced them in here. Obviously, you can probably find smaller washers than these. It's just what I had laying around. And you're just going to have to kind of jerry rig them up here. I would honestly recommend a little bit smaller washer. These are a little bit overkill. I just don't. This is just what I had. But you do probably want to space these out. It'll just make it easier in the long run if you want to adjust these, because it'll make it almost impossible to adjust the actual ride height when they're mounted to the car, just because of the way it constricts the bottom of the mount. And then another thing to look out for before you put these in is how much of the actual shock body's like coming down out of the bottom of this fork. Because if you have too much, it's going to contact back here, and unless you want to try and modify that or something, I would just leave it. This will give you already more than enough drop as it is. Like, this is about as far as you can go, just a couple inches, unless you want to modify the bottom of this. I left it alone. I'm going to throw it in the car and kind of show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so I got it in. You can already see super low. And I'll kind of show you what I was talking about with the way the shock comes down. You can see it gets really close to the bottom of the actual whole knuckle thing. So that's about as low as you can go, but you can already see pretty darn low as it is already. And then up here, you can see where my little adjuster comes up, and I can still adjust it. So that's just something I did. You can get the wheel on, and then I'll lower it down and kind of show you guys how low it actually brings you. One thing I will mention is, depending on your wheel offset, it may contact the shock body and all that. Just depending on the offset. I do run spacers usually when I do have it this low, just because the offset on these wheels are terrible. And just something to keep in mind is you may need spacers. We'll see actually how the fitment is with this wheel, and we'll go from there. All right, exactly what I suspected with the wheel hitting the shock. Yep, it happened. So I threw the spacer on. You kind of see this thing's already pretty tucked in low. I'm going to lower it down a bit. We're going to see kind of how everything is looking. Let me get this out of the way before I break something. Alright, that's pretty much all the way down. You can see, I don't think you'd really need to be going much lower than that, especially in the Geo. I mean, you guys know there's a lot of low-hanging stuff on this car. That brings it pretty darn low. And there's where we're sticking at the top here, just the dampening. But yeah, that's with the 2-inch spacer on these wheels. I don't think you'll need anything that serious. The offset on these wheels are just really bad. So that's just how the rear looks. I just love the way that this car looks. with the rear tucked and low like that, especially with these wheels. Um, but this whole thing is pretty simple and easy to put back to stock if it's something you don't want to do. Pretty simple swap. If you have any questions, any trouble, or want to know what the part is, I'll probably just put what coilovers I bought in the comments. I got a pretty good deal on them, so and I've been fairly happy with the way they're performing. I don't drive it every day this low. I just lower it down for shows and for fun in the summer. But it's winter now, so we're back up to regular ride height. But if you have any questions, just let me know. I'll share this to the Facebook group for everybody. And it'll be on YouTube. So thanks for watching.